All right. Hey, everybody. This is Keith from Indie Comics Relay. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Johnny C. How's it going, Johnny?
How's it going, man?
Good. Good to see you. And we got two special guests tonight. We got Spenser Desmond from Alterna Comics, who does the comic book Voidwalker, and his writing partner, Geoff Elkins. They have a new campaign with Indiegogo, which they're here to promote tonight, which we'll take a look at shortly. How's it going, gentlemen?
What's going on,
sir?
Man? Thanks for having us.
Nice to have you guys on the show, and I was happy to help out to try to promote the Indiegogo a little bit. Johnny, they're doing a zombie comic called City of Rot.
I love that. That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. And Johnny also has a comic called Surrounded by Death.
Excellent.
So Spenser, Geoff, you guys both write the book, right? Or co-writing?
No, Spencer's doing all the writing.
Oh, yeah, we sort of bounce ideas around. Like, it's definitely towards the end of the book is going to be a lot more Geoff involved, but the final scripting is me, and then Geoff takes the reins on all of the art.
Yeah, Spencer lets me
Geoff
play
does the
around.
art. Okay, I thought you were a co-writer, Geoff.
Oh no, he's the madman behind all that awesome art.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Geoff, yeah, I love you. I love the artwork. The pages on the campaign look amazing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys got something cool here. Like I was saying too, I think I talked to Ryan Wynn like a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about like just zombie comics in general and stuff. And we were saying like we talked about City of Rot, and we were like that campaign just has to happen. It looks too good of a zombie comic not to happen, you know. So yeah, we'll share some images of it shortly here. But so how did you how long have you guys known each other?
A
little over a year.
I was gonna say it's gonna be pushing a year at least now.
Okay.
Reached out through Twitter like a lot of things nowadays. I was a big fan of Geoff's stuff, and we started kicking around ideas because I wanted to get him in on something with the ransom verse, and he had some ideas of his own that we're still sort of sitting around on trying to figure out that I definitely want to do too. But it's just sort of like a match made in heaven. Like we hit it off immediately. The ransom verse stuff we're working on is awesome. It's a little one shot called Tomb of the Black Bloods that we have like shown a little bit of, but not tons. And City of Rot was just like we took a little step back when all the COVID stuff hit. Geoff freed up, leaving his old ball and chain job. And with the blessing of his awesome wife, I can't say that enough, stepped out, and we decided the Ransomverse book we're doing kind of fits in a little bit better after Voidwalker and Cade are out. So we were like, we don't need to immediately get it done, even though there's already a lot of it done. We were like, why don't we just try and do just like a breakneck horror idea that like we can just go nuts on and have a lot of fun with. And that's how we ended up with City of Rot.
That's awesome. So now City of Rot is basically a one shot.
Yeah, it's just a self-contained story. Like we could possibly do more with it in the future, but it works very well as just like a beginning, middle, and end all in one package story. Like,
could you give us the elevator pitch on it?
Yeah, so it's about this guy Heavy Hank. I don't know why I get caught up on this every time. I have an elevator pitch written down and I lose it every time. But it's basically the baddest enforcer in this motorcycle club, the Wizards of War. Heavy Hank is set up by his own gang and left to rot in jail right as the zombie apocalypse hits. And the only logical next step for him is to break out of jail and hunt down the ranking members of his gang and get revenge on them. I think Geoff actually has a way better elevator pitch for it that I saw.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it, Geoff.
Twitter the other day.
So I kind of had this realization when I was drawing him that he was essentially like Conan, but in the future as a biker. I mean, he's just that kind of, super tough,
like
anti-hero kind of character.
Yeah.
I'm getting some like Double Dragon, like Lobo kind of vibes here.
Definitely
Yep.
on that cover too. I told Jeff, I was like halfway through it, I was sort of like trying to figure out what I was going to do with the colors on the cover, and halfway through it I was like, this works perfectly as like art on an old like Sega Genesis Super NES game. Like it looks like an old badass beat 'em up that I would play, and that's when I was like, I'm gonna lean into that. So
this is the lost
dragon.
sequel of Bad Dudes we never got.
Exactly. That's kind of the idea too, is like in the trailer we mentioned that it's the bastards inherit the earth line, kind of playing on the old Romero vibes of what happens when hell's full. And that was sort of our baseline for the whole series, is that all these other zombie shows, zombie movies have gotten it wrong along the way. It wouldn't be these last bastions of like humanity banding together and trying to hold out. It would be the worst of the worst people surviving, and what those people would do to each other to get a leg up in all of this. And that's sort of our little petri dish of City of Rut.
Nice, just a circle of bastards. I love it.
Exactly.
Was it inspired a little bit by the biker gang in Dawn of the Dead?
Not so much inspired by it, but I feel like bikers pop up in like all of my crap. I'm shocked nobody's given me shit for that yet, but I've had a fascination with it since I was a little kid. I think I sort of weirded Jeff out early on when I was like sending him notes and stuff, and it's just like through Twitter, and I'm like know all this lingo and stuff. Like another one today that I put in my notes that I just love is the SOS, which you think would be like, you know, like a save our souls, like we need help down here, but it's actually for bikers that shoot on sight. And I kind of love that idea. Like,
yeah, that's great.
You might see it in a normal zombie movie and think, oh, there's some people, you know, stranded down in that mall. They're looking for help. They're looking for a flyover. But in the world of City of Rot, that's bad territory. You don't want to be.
I like that idea. It's like a twist on like the help, you know, like the rescue me formula, you know. That's great.
Yeah, I hate saying like the subverting expectations, but I kind of, it's especially with zombies, like we haven't really gotten any shit for it, which I'm surprised about. I thought people were going to be like, really, a zombie book? I feel like we give ourselves more shit for that, but that was kind of what we were going for, was a challenge. Like, can we still make this interesting in something that's been done so many times? And that's where the heart of it is our little character.
And that was kind of the fun part of it too. Like you know, Spencer is saying, you know, zombies can be overplayed, and there's so much media for it. So, but there's a lot of love everybody has for zombies still, you know. And I always wanted to do a zombie story, and it was the fun part is figuring out, okay, how do we do it differently? You know, how do we make it more interesting? And having, this guy be the
angle that no one else has figured out yet. You know,
exactly.
Like, I can tell you, this page right here that you're looking at on screen was a whole lot less interesting when I wrote it, and Jeff made it look a lot cooler. And I love the crazed man, dazed look of the guy right before he gets hit by the car.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Jeff, you get your storytelling is really good as far as like you know, sequentials go.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
thank you.
Like if you take the dialogue away, you can follow it perfectly, which is always the sign of a good comic page. You know, and I really like your style a lot. And the horrors, the gore is really great, and the facial expressions, everything. How long?
Lots of mayhem. That's pretty cool. Like, I love that. I love the guts there. I love the way you drop vehicles. And I love the idea of like vehicles and like high octane and zombie apocalypse. I think that's kind of like a rarely like traversed area. Like Land of the Dead did it a little bit with the Dread Reckoning, you know. Yeah. And I have a short in the Of the Dead tribute to George Romero anthology that's coming out, where I did like a Race of the Dead, where it was kind of like one part Fast and the Furious, one part, you know, Dawn of the Dead.
Ara said, Ara's in the chat. He said he backed City of Rot.
Hell yeah, Ara's the best.
Yeah, R is the best.
Both an Alterna completionist and a Spenser Desmond completionist. That dude has all of my stuff. Like, I think he actually is one of the first people to ever get an original sketch from me as well. Because I'll just like,
oh, really?
If you're getting stuff from me at a show, usually I'm normally there bullshitting and drawing stuff anyways. Like you've seen, Keith, we've done a bunch of shows together, and
yeah,
like I'll just leave sketches out. If you're buying a book or whatever, they're a little like, well, they're a little bit bigger than a sketch card usually, but I'll just do stuff throughout the day. Like I did that Killmonger a while back. It was a little while after Black Panther had come out, and there was a gigantic dude at the show we were at cosplaying Killmonger, and I just drew that dude as Killmonger because he looked badass, and Ryan inked over it and made it look great. It was like the dude looked like Michael B. Jordan, but like 200 pounds heavier and just like a massive human being, like not quite fat, but not quite muscular. And it was like,
I don't know if I saw that. Which show was that? It was
Granite Con.
Granite Con, okay. Oh yeah, because we were right next to each other, but I don't think I saw you. I don't think I saw you.
He had a room near us.
Oh, okay.
Really cool dude. I can't seem to remember his name, but we were also really drunk when we met him at the bar later that night, and he had us all dying laughing because he was making observations about how he was the only black man in all of New Hampshire that night. He was just hysterical, and ironically, he was from Bridgeport, Connecticut, which isn't too far from me. So it was like weird to run into a native up there.
That's hilarious.
And he's a hilarious dude, awesome cosplayer. If I remember his name, I'll shout it out or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's great.
So, Geoff, have you been doing comics for a long time?
No. So I've always loved comics. It's always been my dream to break into comics. Like when I was 9 years old, my grandma got me How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and I realized, that was
book.
like, I got that, and I realized, like, oh, this is somebody's job. Like, somebody gets paid to draw Spider-Man. I'm like, screw being a teacher or a cop or a fireman. Like, I want to be that. So
it blows your mind when you're a young kid. Like, same thing happened to me, except it was more the comic strip type of stuff, like Peanuts and Garfield and all that. Like when I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You know, and to see that someone got paid for that was like mind blowing. You know?
Right.
So how did you make that transition from like knowing that you wanted to be in comics to like now?
Well, I worked as a graphic artist for about a decade, and just paying the bills.
What is it like doing like websites and things like that, or?
No, I hate websites.
Okay.
It's such a pain. No, I did graphic design, and I did illustration work here and there, and I did some posters. I did a horror film festival poster. Okay. And a few other different things. I did some album covers and whatnot. Always trying to get my foot in the door of comics, but it's a very hard, place to break into. And then one day Spenser just showed up in my DMs, and it was just like birds flying and the sun shining. I was like, oh, hello, how are you?
Like, yo,
that's the key, though, like finding that creative partner, that can that you guys can create something with, like especially like with an artist, like you need that writer to kind of flesh out what to draw, but then you can kind of take the writing and kind of interpret your own way. And like, I'm not sure how you guys work, but I know certain artists, or certain writers will basically not really even detail like what should be in the panels and let the artist kind of interpret that. And then other writers will like,
mm-hmm.
full detail,
leave some breathing room for mutual creativity.
I like to think I'm super easy to work with. I mean, Geoff can say otherwise. I won't be hurt, but like
it's me.
Yeah, right. Like I'm constantly like, hey, I'm a big idiot. Like this is a stupid idea in my head until you take it and turn it into reality. So it's like I come very low. Like, and I'm like, this is what it is. At any point, any panel, any moment, You think you can make it better? You think you can break up the pacing? Yes, always do that. Like the books I do with guys are also for the most part 50-50 splits. Like Geoff owns this book with me, so that's why when you were like your writing partner too, is like you aren't wrong. Like it's RIP, it's our book together. Like if this blew up, we'd both be benefiting from it equally. Like that's how I do things for the most part, unless the artist wants otherwise. Like I've had guys in the past who are like, I just want work for hire stuff. I don't want to deal with all that. It's weird for me, but I feel like you're putting so much of yourself into the stuff. It's your book just as much as it is mine at that point. Otherwise, I'd just be a shitty novelist.
Gotcha.
I can still do that too, is the whole thing. It's not like comics is ever holding me back. As an artist, you can basically attach yourself to one, maybe two projects if you're like really kicking ass these days. But we don't have guys like Kirby anymore. Like I don't know exactly why it is. I mean, life is more demanding. You know, it's cost of living is a lot more. So it's like Kirby back in the day, you probably didn't have as many like stresses in the back of your mind when you were just like, fuck yeah, I'm going to crank out 4 pages today. Who gives it? What else do I have to do? Like kiss my kids on the forehead and love my wife? Like, I can do that while I draw. Like
you used to have to go into the bullpen, right? So it was almost like a 9 to 5 thing, you know.
Not to say what Kirby was doing wasn't amazing or anything, but like I think times are a lot different now too, and there's a lot of just like mental shit pulling you in different directions. I know for me, like it's hard to just like not get distracted some days. Like,
oh yeah, of course. I think that's with all of us.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, with the shared ownership, the 50-50, have you guys ever come across any disagreements?
Not on my end.
all the time. Every page I'm just drawing and cussing.
Yeah.
So it's really been sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows here.
Yeah.
Which also genuinely rare. I mean, it's very rare for two collaborators to just not have any disagreements whatsoever and for something to come together so beautifulully.
Like that's sorry to cut you off, Geoff, but that
circle all the time
right there on that page, right?
Now we're disagreeing.
We're saying about the disagreements now.
Son of a bitch. That circle panel on that page, Geoff completely pulled out. That was his thing, not knowing that I secretly like you could do a circle panel that has no business being on the page. I'm still gonna fucking love it. I don't know what it is about circle panels. I'm a big idiot for them.
I like
that on the page, and I love that. Like it's like just catching the keys really quick, but it totally works. And then Hank's fucking off out the door. Like
it's great. It's like one of those quick cuts in a movie, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that early on. Like we play so much with time changes, and like Geoff probably hates me for that deep down.
I particularly like that it's a toss of the keys, right? It's a toss.
Yeah.
It's coming off the last panel. I love that.
Yeah,
it's really
Geoff
good.
Just, like it's brilliant stuff that I don't know if he's consciously doing it or if it's just like he's in a flow, but he's killing it.
No, it's awesome. I was gonna say Spenser is like he's super open to ideas where it's like I kind of feel like I'm being spoiled, you know, like in the future it's probably not gonna be like this with other writers. But he's always been very open to ideas and discussing things and trying out different stuff. So and the other thing too, like every story element or project that Spenser's had in his mind has always sounded really cool to me, to where I'm like, I want to draw that one and I want to draw that one too. It's like, but I only have so many hands. You know?
Geoff, do you do traditional like pen and ink and on paper and
yeah, for this all these pages right here are digital, but I am drawing them in traditional afterwards.
Oh, really?
We do have original pages for sale. I guess depending on how well everything's, the original pages do sell in the campaign will determine if we do the whole book traditionally. But that's originally the plan, is to do the whole book traditionally.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I really like your work. I'm glad you're doing comics because I think you're definitely
too.
Yeah, dude, he doesn't belong anywhere else.
In other fields. You're being wasted in graphic design.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's our that guy's actually based on, that was just a matter of timing and pure like perfection.
Hey, Ryan Wynn in the house.
We were trying to figure out like a visual look for that character there, Otto. And it was like, I think just like around the start of COVID. And Bruce Campbell posted a picture of him just like up in the woods with like a full beard and just like completely gray, and I was like, that's fucking Otto. Like that's like the like the vibe of the character we've been thinking of is basically Bruce Campbell. Like we basically wrote this guy not realizing that he was Bruce Campbell, and then old Bruce Campbell presented himself with a beard, and I was like, that's fucking perfect. And I sent the picture to Jeff and was like, make him look like old Bruce Campbell.
It was just
right here, especially this panel.
Dude, like it's all I hear in my head now when I was reading that scene. I love that panel of Hank in between them too, just aiming the gun. Like you almost don't even realize it at first. Like I love it.
Yeah, this is great. This is great stuff. And you know what's funny is like, speaking of Bruce Campbell, I'm curious to see how this reads, because like I've read some of the Army of Darkness comics, and they're horrible. Like
stuff.
What's up?
That licensed stuff, man, seems to always miss the mark.
Always, and like they never get Bruce Campbell correct. Like they either do the humor too much or too little, and it just doesn't work, you know? Or
it's always a parody of Ash, never Ash, right?
Yeah, right. It's like,
the balance is always a little off. It's like when you mess up a family recipe and you can't quite put your finger on what's different. Like, just like it's wrong.
Real horror fans aren't writing it, because if it was a real horror fan, they would know the voice, and you know what I mean.
Have you guys watched the show?
Issue I had with the
the show is great.
The show was good. New York comics. Have you read those?
What was it?
The Escape from New York comics.
Yes.
No, those any good?
I had the same issue with those basically because the art is really wonky, and I think Sabella wrote them, if I remember correctly. The end of the movie, the dude is like, I'm going to fucking Cleveland. Like he says that straight up. Like Snake is like, next stop, Cleveland. Where does the comic pick up? I think Florida. If I remember correctly, it was like Escape from fucking Orlando, basically.
It didn't feel genuine to like the series. It felt like a weird fanfic offshoot.
Yeah, and everything was just escape from this new location, and it was just like, okay, what shit do we have in this location that's like famous and recognizable that we can sort of parody and then make post-apocalyptic? And it is like the lamest, like watered down trash I've ever read. And I think that was another Boom one where it's just like, I finally looked into it. I don't know if I talked to Jeff about this. I've definitely talked to Kevin about it, but I reached out and looked into the licensing stuff, and I could straight up, if I had the money, buy away any John Carpenter license I want. I found the connection to do it and everything. It's a lot of money, but I was like, if I wanted to break into licensed comics, I could fucking make some gnarly licensed comics that are.
So you actually did some footwork on that, like throw out the number. I mean, if you don't mind doing
what I found out for John Carpenter stuff was a flat rate of 10,000 and then a percentage of sales, but it's a smaller percentage of sales, but 10 grand up front. I was like, damn, dude, if you're someone like EVS, you could put aside $100 grand right now, buy like 2 licensed properties and turn it into another $1 million. Like,
yeah,
man, I would pay 10K to
go buy any Carpenter shit and call me. I will write it for you. Like,
which property would you want to do the most, Spencer?
Oh fuck, man. I for a challenge, I'll say Ghosts of Mars. Give me Ghosts of Mars, and I'll write you a fucking gnarly ass comic about it.
That's brilliant.
Something genuine. Me and Kevin said we could go back to Fog hardcore. There's a lot I could do with the Fog. Halloween is just easy. Halloween writes itself.
Yeah.
But everybody, like, that's the only reason I like the new one is the new one doesn't try to elaborate on Michael Myers and like give more background to him. You need to just do that. You need to keep going with him being like almost a supernatural entity and just run with that. But there's a lot you can do there, and you could even still fold in. It would
be interesting to see what that world was like at the end of that movie. You know?
Yeah, that would be cool. In the Mouth of Madness, dude.
Yeah, that would be a great one too.
Huge
Vampires.
Inspiration of Voidwalker. I mean, Voidwalker at the end of the first issue does essentially his special move and literally says peer into the mouth of madness. I don't know how much more on the nose I could be with that reference than to make my character's like, special ability be like, I love John Carpenter.
Well, the only other thing you could have done is called a character Carpenter or something,
right? Hey, I'm Sam Neill.
Yeah, right.
I have a cameo for Carpenter in the
Return of
comic.
the Living Dead reference in what is it, issue 3 that you did that?
Yeah, there's
that was great.
you're actually the first person to like notice that one, and I think the only person since like there's another one that got noticed and I can't think of it now. It just completely popped out of my head. But yeah, you're the only one that has like picked up on that one. I won't even say exactly what it is, just to leave it out there. But there's even stuff in there that Christians put in that like I didn't, because like when I put that in the script, I didn't even mention like, hey, this is a little nod to this or whatever. I was like, I know Christian's gonna make it look great no matter what, but I was consciously thinking of that moment from that movie when I wrote that little part in. I was like, yeah, this is great, and it also works because it shows a little bit about the monsters and that they're not just like these weird, like, mindless creatures tearing everything apart. There's a little bit more to them, but we wanted to leave more breadcrumbs and questions than answers in that. So it's like doing little stuff like that happens in the story.
I'm curious where you're gonna go with Voidwalker. I haven't gotten issue 4 yet. Is it out yet?
I think it's coming in from the printer soon. I don't know. I think everything's been a little bit held up.
Yeah, because of
stuff's been weird. I know I was really slow on my end, but
yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it and see where you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we ended it as best we could with what little time we had. We told Pete, we were like, we need to extend this. Like, we need to leave something on the end. 20 pages is great. We added 3 more. It makes sense in the end. And there's little things throughout the 4 issues that sort of set up for other stuff, but we weren't sure when we went into it if we were coming out the other side with, being able to do more issues or anything. So we didn't want to get too involved in like planting all these seeds for a future if there wasn't going to be one. So that's sort of what the last 3 pages is like, almost like a post-credit scene to be like, don't worry, we're coming back. And it's crazier than ever. And Christian, like I said it with like every issue, but it's true. The dude's amazing. He seems to level up with every issue, like almost all the guys I work with, like, and he's working on Rad Rose right now, so I can't even imagine that's looking like after 4 issues of Voidwalker, and then he's gonna come back and we'll do more of Voidwalker after Rad Rose, and
that's awesome.
The next Voidwalker issues are probably gonna melt my brain. Like,
dude's a machine.
Yeah, wait, when do you project those to come out? Next year sometime?
Yeah, it's definitely next year sometime. I'm giving myself as much breathing room this time around. I'm working on some other stuff. I want to sort of launch a little like direct order imprint of our own stuff. I'd love to eventually get in at Alterna. That's just more horror focused and a little bit more adult.
Awesome.
A sort of brand,
your own like offshoot imprint, kind of.
I know Pete doesn't like to do that after the past with imprint he did, I think, with the Fubar guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big pain in the ass with taxes and legal stuff, from what I know.
Okay.
So, I mean, it'll be a pain in the ass anyways, doing it with a bunch of other guys, because I kind of want to do it the way I do everything, where it'll be almost like our own little image. And if we're getting all these books off the ground, we'll be in it together and everybody will benefit from it.
Yeah, definitely.
Almost like small batch comics.
Yeah, right. I wanted to take a step back and like, for people watching this, like you mentioned earlier on, like how City of Rot and Voidwalker are all part of the Ransomverse.
Well, City of Rot isn't. City of Rot is the only thing outside of it right now.
Oh, the only thing outside? Okay.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. Is this is essentially would be like the first book of our little imprint if we get it up and going the way we want to. But Voidwalker, Can't Kill Cade, Hellseekers, Tomb of the Black Bloods, all that takes place in one shared universe. We're sort of building up, kind of like Marvel did back in the day. Just like we're telling fun stories with all these characters, and slowly over time they'll start to overlap a little bit, and it'll get richer and denser over time.
Yeah, I like that. So the name Ransomverse, what is that a reference to, or what is that?
So that just came from the first real like main city in all of it, which is Ransom City.
Okay.
It's got city in the name essentially because it was a nod to a lot of these old superhero comics coming from like cowboy pulps back in the day. And so we were like, Ransom City is basically an old cowboy town that developed up into modern day. And it's sort of, I never really nailed down where it takes place. It's sort of like Gotham or like Metropolis or whatever, where it's just like this obscured city.
That's not true, though. He's
Yeah.
lying about the name. It's actually because he kidnapped all his artist families and he's ransoming them back for art.
Yeah.
I haven't seen my mom in months.
Yeah, that too. It worked for both. Yeah, it came from that initially, and that's sort of like stuff we may or may not dive into eventually in the world, like sort of the history of Ransom City. There's a huge like outline sitting around for basically like a police procedural of the Ransom City PD. It's sort of like everyday life of being a cop in a city filled with villains and superheroes and all sorts of shit. And there's sort of this history at the start of all of it that you don't really know and you're starting to learn, which is a lot of what we get into in Hellseekers, which is going to be kind of like the cornerstone title of the series. Voidwalker and Cade get into their own very specific weird stuff. They might pop up in Hellseekers, but Hellseekers is where we're going to start really bulking out the expanded universe where Tomb of the Black Bloods comes in and stuff like that. Got all sorts of characters nobody's even heard of that are like fully developed and ready to go. Lots of cool lady heroes that aren't just cool because they're ladies. Like some really kick-ass stuff. We have a character Neverender that I'm really excited to show off. Like just like a bunch of really weird shit. Neverender's sort of like our Superman. And
okay.
It's nuts. It's everything I wanted to do with superheroes as a little kid, and it's like I get to play with action figures as a grown man and make these stories a reality. And at the end of the day, we all own it, which is the best thing in the world. Like some movie deal happens, it's going to be a shitload of math, but we're all going to be partying. Like, and my whole thing is like, yeah, I wouldn't hate on a movie deal. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, you do comics, but it's like, yeah, land a movie deal, make more fucking comics. Like,
yeah, right.
We lots more comics.
Yeah, dude, we landed a deal like that.
The movie deal,
everything like. Whew.
You get the movie deal, so you can quit your job and just do comics full time. You know,
exactly.
Yep.
Employ even more people. Is like I would love to be doing something where I could just find like young kids, you know, right out of high school or right out of college, who, you know, maybe you can't afford to go to college or whatever, but you're an amazing artist and you got this story in you, but you can't afford to do it on your own. I think Creators for Creators does something like that, and they'll pay you like $25,000 for the year to make your book, and then Image publishes it or something like that. I don't know exactly the particulars, but it's basically a charity thing they put together, and I would love to down the road be doing something like that, where it's just like, you know, we're gonna pay you to make your book, you're gonna make it, you're gonna be able to live for the year, get your book out, it gets published, and then once, you know, the money's back for the printing and everything, you have all your rights and you have a fully finished book that you can go and do whatever the fuck you want with. Like, just
get
a footing in the industry legitimately and not doing it for anything other than to get another awesome voice out.
Talk about getting a boost, man. That would be awesome if you had that to support, you know? That's half of the indie struggle is that, you know, that would be like a Hail Mary pass. Like none of us are so lucky, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, man. I was homeless right out of high school. Like I know how much like a helping hand can help. Like, so if I'm ever in a position to do anything like that, people that know me know that too. Like I'm constantly trying to help out any way I can.
I think that's a general sentiment in indie comics anyways, that most people are trying to, you know, help out and offer a hand no matter what. And, you know, it's like the ones that don't are the ones that you see fall off, or, you know, they don't quite make it, or whatever the case may be. It's like the rising tide raises all of the boats, and the people who have that mentality in indie comics are the ones that are typically the most successful.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm hopeful that the fighting will die down after election times and everything, and things will get back to normal. But that is really the key, is like, if you focus on helping out the guys around you, everybody's going to be flying high. Like, the more time you spend fighting with people and doing dumb shit, the less time you have to make more awesome comics. And that's
I agree. I mean,
Amen.
I keep an eye on the drama because I don't want it to come my way. But
you can't avoid it. Like,
you can't avoid it. But like, my God,
they go looking for it. Half of it's like witch hunty shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, even if you're like 3 steps removed, they'll find a way to try to connect you.
Oh yeah, I read it. I laugh about it. Like, I'm friends with guys in CG. I'm friends with people out of CG. I'm here to make comics, and if people are cool, I'm cool. Like, that's how I've always been.
Yeah,
I got love for everybody.
You have my same philosophy. I don't give a shit about either side. I just want to make comics.
I'm too high all the time, I guess.
Yeah. No. But I always like to know about it because I just want to be aware of it,
Yeah.
In case it falls in our way or in some shape or form,
It's more like a surreal, like, almost hilarious shock value to me at this point, that I'm just like, how do you get to this level about comics and then equate all these real life things to comics? I'm like, we're here making like funny books, guys. Like, that I've never had that mentality of I'm saving the world with my storytelling. So I
right.
Sometimes a comic book is just a comic book.
Yeah. You can't outgrow what you never had. Like,
but not everybody thinks that way. That's the problem, But
you got to keep your ear to the ground just so you don't step in it,
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, the whole CG thing. Whatever.
Looks like Ryan Wynn pieced out. Thanks for stopping in, Ryan.
Yeah. So, well, he's launching his book tonight.
I wish the best to everyone, both in and out of CG.
Same here.
That's the whole thing. Fucking everybody thrive. EVS having books hit millions of dollars is fucking awesome. All comics should be doing that. People should be stoked. People should be picking that guy's brain to figure out how the fuck he's doing it. Not coming at him with more silly shit. I was like, if we spent less time with silly shit and more time just like finding out what works and what doesn't work for people. Like, the first time I met Johnny, I was like, what's the deal with this coffee stuff? It was like, since I talked to him, I've been constantly like, I need to figure out how I can do some branded coffee with one of these books, like mix in more of what I love here. Like the wax packs, little single servings of coffee. Is like, if I can serve you a fucking delicious cup of coffee with my book while you read it and give you an awesome experience and that music from Institute 91, like, that's cool as hell. I'm just slowly building out more and more the experience that goes along with our stories that we share. And then it's like, how many comics do you know of where you're like, oh, I got this kick-ass comic this weekend and read it. It was cool as hell. Loved the story, loved the art. And it came with a delicious cup of coffee.
That's the idea. It's like I really wanted to bring people into the book, right? And the first story arc is about this, these people living out the zombie apocalypse in a mall, and they run out of this very particular blend that everybody loves. And I was like, what's cooler than actually partnering with a local roaster and producing that blend and trying to bring like a piece of the book out to the audience and trying to, like you said, expand the world and expand the world of our world.
Tell him, Johnny, tell him about your plan for the whole cafe setup, which I always thought.
So I mean, I think it was Terrificon, right, where you saw the cafe booth.
Yeah, we were right across from you guys. I'm the giant dude with the beard.
Yeah. I recall. I was gonna say, so the whole idea was more to do like the cafe from the book and have like zombies in there and just make it more of like and then people would have to get through the zombies to get to the coffee and that kind of thing, and just make it more of a fun environment. And then, well, I mean, I'm kind of working on my own budget, so I mean, a 10 by 10 space was all I could deal with. But if I could dream bigger, if I could have a 20 by 20, I would have built out a little bit more and made it a little bit more of an actual.
That's kind of what we were planning out on logistics and everything for this year too. And then the COVID stuff hit, because we were like, man, all these awesome artists we got, if we could fly everybody out out and just like throw down on a booth and a big Airbnb for like one big con, and we just have like a gnarly booth. The whole team is going to be there. All these books are going to be there. Like that would be huge. And so now sort of the plan is like, I'm working behind the scenes at the day job, putting money aside and everything, sort of trying to plan out the imprint launch as much as possible so we can do something like that. We were pushing for Salem Horror Fest originally. Obviously, that fell through with everything as well. But that would be a great thing to do because it's, Salem, Mass, fucking witch capital of the world. It's insane during the Halloween season, and Kayla doesn't work at Harrison's anymore, but still has great connections with the owners and a lot of love for everybody there. They've always been good to us. They actually had me and Keith and a couple of other guys there a while ago for a signing, and that
was fun, even though they had nowhere really to put us.
Yeah, right. Because they're in the middle of a transition and completely forgot about us. But they clean up during Salem Horror Fest, and horror stuff like pretty much sells out in their store, and they have to restock everything after that. And they do like a big horror section, and they essentially offered us like if we wanted to set up like a booth near the front door during that and like figure out some sort of split with them, we could clear out books. So that was sort of going to be the imprint launch there. And now
if you guys ever want to do something like that at Plastic, let me know. Oh
yeah, for sure, dude.
I could depending on how many people, we could just like put a bunch of tables together,
Hell yeah. I know. I want to get Kevin up here. I'd love to get Geoff up here, obviously. Vince has been out here. I know he'd come back. Vince is always a good time. Little Vince, wherever you are.
He's like Chicago. I forget, what was he? Chicago, right?
No, he's Oregon.
Oregon.
He's smack dab in the middle of them raging inferno.
Fires. Yeah.
He got evacuated like weeks ago. I don't even know if he's back at his place because Vince is like the girlfriend who doesn't love me. He keeps me at arm's length. No, I love Vince, but
yeah, he was cool. He was at that signing too. Remember?
Yeah, he's a busy man. Oh yeah, dude. He came down. He finally met us in person. We basically stayed at his Airbnb all weekend and partied with him, and I cooked them a Thanksgiving dinner.
That's awesome. Are you gonna launch Hellseekers on Indiegogo soon after this?
Yeah, so originally we were going to launch Hellseekers first.
I remember that.
And then, Geoff just had the free time leaving his job and everything. It was a matter of circumstances. Vince was working on a personal project and everything, so we were like, we'll just keep working on everything, making sure. Hellseekers is huge, so if that campaign somehow blew up and we like smash a bunch of stretch goals like people keep telling me we're going to, I don't bank on any of that ever. If it did do well, there's like a lot already laid out. I probably have like 4 years of it outlined at this point.
Wow.
Like there is plenty to do, plenty to go. We have a guy signed on for Halloween issues if it's a possibility. We have another guy signed on for backup issues. I've basically been talking to Geoff where Tomb of the Black Bloods will probably be like a one-shot backup story that'll come up during the Hellseekers line. And if that works out,
do you envision that as an ongoing or a series?
That would probably be like a limited ongoing, like we do. Like, I if I could afford it, I would do like 8 issues a year would be perfect for me.
Yeah.
But like we have a bunch of guys tentatively signed on to do a big annual that was just going to kind of be like a friends bash. I think I had actually messaged you about that a while ago just to see if you would be interested in writing something. But it's essentially just a list of all the friends and people I enjoy their stuff and everything. I was like, I want to do like one annual where I can pay everybody to actually write our characters and finally experience that world outside. Like Geoff helps, like I said, I'm always bouncing ideas off him and everything, but I've never just like let a kid go and let somebody else raise it for a little while sort of thing. And I want to experience that now. And it's kind of like all of us doing it because we all created these characters together. And it's a matter of like, all right, now let's let's let some friends and fans in and see what they can do with it in little self-contained stories, and we'll do a fun little annual with it. And I wanted to do like a little giveaway, like old school Marvel style, like they did with the first Avengers one, and not necessarily a bike, but we have an idea for a giveaway, and that's a big part of just like planning, putting money aside, backlogging pages, and continuing to develop stuff. But Ransomverse is like it's always in my head. I can't stop thinking about it. There's things will pop and I'll be like, oh, this makes sense now. This clicks. I can move this here. Like I'll come up with a new idea for a character. Wrote a whole damn one shot just to introduce one character, and I was like, we can't do this. This is nonsense. Like I can't do like an 80-page book just to introduce this one character. Like I'll make this 2 pages. Like, but I can do stuff like that now because it's been so long and I've done so much of it that it's becoming second nature. And when I work with all the guys and I'm bouncing ideas off of multiple people, it starts to gel over time. You get a shorthand and it works.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't had like an idea for like a whole universe, but I definitely have like a couple other ideas burning a hole in me, like trying to get out, but I just don't know when I'll have time to put it together,
Yeah.
Trying to do stuff like that, especially with other creators, can be really complicated. In the past, I've always wanted to cross over with other, my books with other indie artists, and it's kind of fun to talk about, and on paper sometimes it seems like it works out, but trying to execute and put things together sometimes can be really difficult. Just kind of aligning with other people's schedules. It's kind of the reason why I fell out of the filmmaking side of things. You have to like really align schedules with people and kind of be on the same page, so much so, whereas with comics, it's very liberal. You could, work over the internet and just pass things off, and it's just a little bit, it's different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like everyone has like their own part, whereas a film, it's like you got to work all together on the same wavelength,
Yeah, and even like sharing each other's universes and books. It's like if I'm doing something that's not within canon, it's like I need that other input. You know what I mean? You need the input of the other person much more so than doing your own thing or building your own universe.
Oh,
yeah.
Even when Surrounded by Death, we're like it's a shared thing, so it's 3 of us. And I said this in another podcast I did recently. It's like we had this discussion of a character not liking guns. And like that is not just like a simple thing where you can just be like, oh, this character doesn't like guns. It's like this now became like a 90-minute conversation over online saying like, okay, like who, this is my perspective of it. No, this is my perspective of it, And that's kind of why I asked about if you guys get along earlier. And if you're always on the same page, is because like working in a book that's in a collaborative effort, it's like I do run into some things where I'm butting heads with my other collaborators, but in a purely creative way.
For sure.
Yeah. Sometimes that's good though, because you, like when I used to collaborate with the Hero Envy stuff, it was like a bunch of us writing it, and it's like sometimes you don't see. Sometimes it takes a while to see that other perspective, but sometimes it ends up being the right decision. I've run into that a bunch of times.
You find blind spots.
Yeah, or there's times where you're adamant because you're right on something, and then trying to get everybody else to see that point,
Yeah.
Get everybody on the same page.
Oh yeah. There was a time like I just could see it, like, this is not gonna work, and no one agreed with me, and I was like, fine, just film it, and then sure enough, they filmed it, come to that part. And they had to redo it because I was right, and it's just like sometimes it's irritating. So yeah, I definitely know. So,
for sure,
I'm learning all about that kind of stuff right now, and I love it and hate it at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Working on too many things behind the scenes, but
that happens, and plus you draw too, which.
Dude, I'm slowly gearing up to do my own fucking book too because I hate myself.
Spenser is a true Renaissance man.
Yeah, well, I'm like if I'm this serious about doing an imprint, and these guys all believe in it just as much as I do, I need to put as much skin in the game as I possibly fucking can. And I'm like, why can't I also be in there doing a book with them? Like, if all these dudes are like, you can do it, we'll fucking hold your hips and spot you along the way. Like, we got you. Like, Kevin's been helping me out with layouts and stuff. Just the positive feedback from the guys is super helpful, but it's like I should be able to at least get in and do a cover or something to start and get my shit back in order. I was like, I started drawing before I was ever writing. It's just a matter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my accident is what put me out on drawing. My hands are like destroyed, and so it's a matter of getting.
Yeah,
back
I knew
to,
about
like,
the accident. Is it? Are you at the point where you can draw now, or
I can? I mean, my hands still shake like crazy. I still like have severe pain after hours of using them. Like where like most guys is like, oh, I drew a page today, and now my hands are kind of like crampy and sore or whatever. Like my shit feels like somebody took a hammer to them after a couple of hours. Like it doesn't feel good. And I don't know if you could hear the whole time, but I'm like cracking my knuckles constantly because they literally like tighten up from it so much that like the only thing to relieve the pressure in my hands is to just like crack all of my knuckles compulsively. And it's really bad for me. But I was like, I cannot stop doing it now because my hands feel like I'm like choking a ghost. Like
that sucks, bro, because it's not like you can not make comics. It's your like passion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you literally have to live with the burden of the pain.
Yeah, right after like
it's true.
Around the time it happened to me too, and I was just like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna write. I met a guy at a con who was this fucking amazing painter. He's the nicest guy. This was years ago now. I think it's Boston Comic Con I met him at. Amazing painter. Gave me one of his comics. We traded some comics and stuff. I still have it somewhere. It's this weird, trippy book. I don't even remember the name of it because the logo is like really not a good comic logo. It's just like trippy piece of art. It was this like surrealist, like almost erotic comic.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Well, it was this cool. It kind of had like a Ridley Scott sci-fi vibe to it, where it was like it wasn't like any comic that I ever seen, and he hand painted the whole thing, and then he had a stroke, and it just completely ruined his drawing arm. Like he couldn't fucking paint anymore. Nothing.
I hate hearing stuff like that.
Yeah, dude, and it was like soul crushing. And then he started getting back into it, and he built this like really abstract style that's like almost cooler and more kick-ass now. And he's painting again. But
that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I met that dude shortly after my accident, and that was a big turning point for me. And I think probably part of the reason I started writing is he sort of gave me a talk like you're never really out of it, man. Like look at me, and he's making jokes about it, like. I love people like that when you have a shit hand dealt your way and you can just like still have a good time and keep rolling with the punches and laughing.
Yeah,
like,
you still find that.
Yeah, he's like, dude, half my fucking body doesn't move anymore. Like, and I'm still doing it. Like, you'll find a way if you really love it. And it was like, I happened to meet a guy like that at like the exact point that I needed to, and it clicked for me.
Because that was an inspiration check, huh? That's awesome.
That was at a point in time where I wasn't even really like selling book. I was making stuff, but I wasn't putting it out there. I had no clue what I was doing, and it wasn't me like publishing anything or anything like that. I had no like idea of doing that on my own. I was like, maybe I'll get a printer and print stuff in my house and eventually get a table and just sell like little shitty ash cans or whatever. Yeah. But like that was like oh no, like I gotta bust my ass. Like the whole world's trying to kill you. Like if you really want to do what you want to do, you have to get it done.
Man, that's like that. You know, say what you will about believing in fate or anything like that, but that was such a cosmic moment that was meant to happen for you to experience. That look what it did. It drove you. You know what I mean?
I tell my girlfriend all the time, I feel the same way about the accident, because it was like if the accident hadn't happened, I'd probably still be working like a shitty like 9 to 5, working at the theater. I'd probably be a manager at a regional franchise theater right now, making like decent money, like livable and everything like that. And I enjoyed the job. Like I was great at my job. I worked at a rave cinemas and I killed it. Like I have more president's letters from Rave Cinemas than any other Rave Cinemas employee to exist in the entirety of the franchise because of Judge Dredd the movie. I personally sold like hundreds of tickets to that movie from just like recommendations working, and
nice, the Carl Urban one, right?
I got to start writing the like synopsis descriptions they give you up at the front desk for the movies. Like I got to write better logos.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Production companies, because our managers just liked how I pitched people on movies.
Wait, which Dredd was it? The 95 or the
2012? No, the 2012 one with Carl Urban.
Yeah.
I had
so
customers emailing corporate about me because of how many people I recommended the movie, just like talking to them, because I was the guy like all over the place usually. And then I would like, if it was dead, I would go stand near the front of the ticket line at the beginning of the day and be like, what are you guys here for? Basically like greeting like a Walmart greeter. And I'm really good at reading people, and it was just like you can tell when somebody's just coming in just to see like a random movie, like, or someone who's coming in to see something specific. They sort of come in like they're on a mission, and if you're good at feeling people out, figuring out, and what movies are there, you feel them out, and you're like, oh, I think you'd really like this, and I'd pitch people on Dredd while it was in theaters, and fucking I had some old dude and his like fully grown son. His son was like 50, and the dad was like 80 something. And they were one of the ones, they wrote like a 3-page president's letter about me because I just talked with them about like cars for like 5 minutes, recommended Dredd to them. They went in and saw Dredd, and the old guy came out and was like, my heart hasn't felt like that in 40 years. Like, hell yeah, dude. Like,
you're doing God's work promoting that film anyway. It's so underappreciated.
It's insane.
I mean, I bet that movie only made what, $2 million in the box office.
Oh yeah, man.
You, Spencer.
Like it was right from that one Rave Cinema, which is crazy too. Because if you've worked at a theater, like ours was one of the biggest ones in our area on the East Coast, and we had one of the like premier IMAXs like in New England, like the Rave in Manchester, Connecticut was like known for its IMAX. People would come from like states away to see it and stuff like that. We were one of the only East Coast theaters that got the Dark Knight film IMAX reels. Those things were 8 feet wide.
I've never even heard of Rave Cinemas. Is that a Connecticut thing?
Rave was like, I think mostly New England.
There's one in Virginia. I know that.
Yeah, they got bought out by Cinemark like a couple years ago.
Okay. I've heard of Cinemark.
Well, the whole thing too with Rave was their mission statement was basically get into the movie industry or the theater industry, make a shitload of money, sell to another company. Like that's their mission statement boiled down. They were very open with like anybody buying into the company or anything like that. Any investors, they're like, they didn't have exactly a time frame on it for how many years, but they were like, we're gonna make our little nut, and then we're gonna sell our nut for more nut. And
sounds like what like O'Neill's was trying to do in Littleton, New Hampshire.
Yeah, Rave blew up. They bought out a bunch of old Showcase cinemas around here and just like made them nice again. And the one in Manchester thrived for a while. They sort of like pioneered the $5 Tuesdays in our area, and that was absolute madness. Like you could go see a movie for like what it cost in the 90s again.
That's cool.
It was a fun job and everything, but if it weren't for my accident, I would probably still be there. But I hit my head real hard, and I joke all the time because I went to a couple doctors and like my brain's fucked up, but they can't like really give you a definitive on anything with your brain like that without going to like a very, very like serious specialist that at the time my insurance didn't cover. But I joke all the time that I basically had that shit that happened to Sam Kinison, like that you hit your head real hard and your personality completely changes.
Is that what you yell all the time now?
Yeah, right? Oh no, I'm just loud as hell.
You all of a sudden,
it's because we're big guys. That's how we're built. We're built to that decibel level.
Built to bellow.
What's that? What'd you say, Johnny?
I said we're larger guys, so we're built to bellow, just like Spencer said.
I just like the worst part of that accident for me was probably hitting my head and obviously fucking my hands up because I had to bust the windshield out from inside of a truck cab. with about a foot of space to like extend my arm to break it out, and it took about 300 punches to actually smash through the glass. It just kept spider webbing more and more, and then I can show you the next time I see you, Keith. My hands are permanently like I got little like 3 millimeter like scars all over them from glass beads and shit like that. My fingers were all messed up. There was a blood trail from where the accident happened all the way to my front door because I opted not to take medical treatment because I didn't want to pay for the fucking ambulance ride. And they just put my buddy Charlie, who was the first EMT that arrived. My older brother went to high school with him. I was just like, "You got a bunch of Band-Aids?" And he put a bunch of Band-Aids on my fucked up hands.
Spencer was Marv.
Yeah, I looked like a cartoon character. I was Fat Marv for the night. And then I walked home. My girlfriend's parents live next to us, so I walked past our apartment and into their house, and her and her mom are just like sitting in the kitchen, like having a drink together, and I'm just covered in blood, like almost from head to toe, from just like walking around, brushing the sweat off my forehead after the accident.
Wondering about the old days, the bad days, and bringing hell down upon
all or nothing days.
Holy shit,
one
man.
of the first things a firefighter said when we got out of it was that if I had used my lighter instead of my cell phone for light, I might have blown us up. And
because of the gas,
yeah, and that just had me all fucked up after that. That's actually when I like talked to a therapist and everything. That's most likely what like had me like losing my mind and having all sorts of crazy nightmares back in the day. But yeah, I was like an anxiety-ridden mess and walked home because the accident happened about 150 feet from my house. I was drinking. I wasn't driving. My buddy offered, who he had just randomly stopped by my house after work because he was working in my area, stopped by and I was drinking. We were like hanging out and talking. And I was like, "Hey, I've been drinking. Can you give me a ride down to the gas station real quick?" Brought me down to the gas station, like not even a quarter mile away from my house. We were coming back to my place down a side street on a hill, hit a little patch of black ice and just started 360ing down the road on all 4 tires, hit the curb completely sideways on the passenger side, rolled 2 times, missed the corner of a house by about a foot. We almost went through the ground story of a house. It was 2 days before Christmas. It's cool. I can like totally talk about this now and I'm not hyperventilating, which is great for me right now. We rolled 2.5 times. We landed driver's side down, passenger door up in the air. It was a big dually and the doors are heavy as shit. And I was all fucked up. So I couldn't lift my door up into the air and get my buddy Drew, the driver, out. So it's like, I'm going to have to bust the windshield out. I couldn't see Drew because his seatbelt popped right before we started rolling. He like when we went sideways, as we started rolling, we went sideways. His seatbelt popped from the weight of him hitting it, I guess, and he flew into my arms, and my window was down. And the last thing I saw was Drew's head go out the window before I grabbed onto him and just like pulled him into me and hugged him and basically did like a human seatbelt to hold on to him. And then I hit my head. I blacked out for like what felt like a couple of seconds. When I woke up, Drew was head down in the cab of the truck, buried in glass, and I thought his head had gotten ripped off when he went out the window. So I didn't touch Drew for 2 minutes because he was unconscious, and I thought he was decapitated.
God.
I was like panicking. There's blood everywhere. I couldn't see anything. Smoke, glass. The windshield didn't break. It was just the fucking all of the side windows exploded, and they like exploded into the car. Like it was like if you've seen Killing Them Softly when the dude gets blasted with the shotgun.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I remember seeing before I hit my head. And right when I hit my head was, I think, when my glass exploded too, because my window was only like halfway down. Like it was literally enough to just get Drew's head out the window. And I saw like his head going out the window, slammed my head, woke up, and Drew's like face down. And from his shoulders up is buried in like broken glass and blood. And
Christ.
I was like, oh, fuck. I tried to open the door. It was too heavy. I thought I had broken my right arm. So I tried to use my left arm, which is my dominant arm. It's still too heavy. My arms are all sore. I'm bleeding all over the place. I can't tell where I'm bleeding from. So I try to kick the fucking the windshield, but it like the angle is all wrong and everything. I can't get any sort of extension on my foot, and every time my boot connects, it just like slides against the glass, and I can't get any sort of real contact. I start panicking because I'm like severely claustrophobic just from being a big dude and weird shit when I was a little kid. I start panicking, freaking out. When I get really claustrophobic, I like hyperventilate and I'll normally black out. I've also gotten kind of violent in the past if I start getting claustrophobic. So that worked to my benefit. I tried to kick it again. My foot slipped and I hit into Drew, and that actually woke Drew up. And that was when I finally realized Drew's not dead. Drew has his whole head. Drew's completely fine. Thank fucking God. He sits up. Dude doesn't have a fucking scratch on him. Not a single fucking scratch. He's completely fine. He's like,
that's crazy, dude.
I thought he said while he was underneath me, and granted he's buried in shit and it's all muffled and I'm panicking. I thought he said, I smell gas. And that's when I just like flipped into a whole different mode and just started fucking lighting up the windshield with both hands. I was like, I'm not going to fucking burn alive in this truck. That's the last thing I remember like consciously thinking. And then everything else was just like a fucking wild animal. And I just started punching the glass because Drew's all incoherent and fucking upside down in the cab. He's trying to like turn himself right side up while I'm just fucking lighting up the cab. And then we broke the glass out. We got out. I shoved Drew through the hole in the glass that I had made. We get outside and I realize the screaming I've been hearing in my head the whole time isn't me or Drew making noise. The people who lived on the second floor of the house, the mom and her like 4-year-old kid are on their porch on the second story, like screaming and crying because they thought we were dead inside. And this is not Christmas Eve. It was the 23rd of December, the day before Christmas Eve. So I like traumatized the shit out of that kid and his mom. I went down and apologized like weeks later and brought her some flowers and was like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, explained the whole situation and just like left it at that. But it was just like a fucking shit storm of horrible.
Bro, you're lucky you're talking to us today, man. Like, what the
yeah.
fuck?
Oh, I got out too, and the police had arrived by then and were coming around the back of the house, and the point officer had a gun out and trained on me because he thought I was on meth. They didn't believe that I could bust out of the cab with my
holy
bare hands.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That would be like a Night of the Living Dead ending.
I think they drew on us because I was fucking. I looked like I had just eaten Drew alive, and Drew was like laying on the ground, and this dude came around the corner. There's a truck flipped, and there's like a 6'5" dude standing covered in blood in some lady's yard. Like it looked bad all around, and I just like put my hands up and was like, we were in an accident. They tested us and everything. We weren't on any drugs. I told them, I was like, I'm drunk, so I'm going to be bleeding like a fucking madman all night. I think I freaked out the cops and the firefighters because I was like insanely calm the whole time. And that's part of the reason they knew I wasn't on drugs. Like I was fairly coherent. And then they were like, if you're refusing medical, you can go home now. They gave me the police report and everything. And I just walked home. And then I was having nightmares for a while about burning alive in the cab of a truck and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like that experience. That's
yeah. I wasn't sleeping good. I've talked about it a lot now. I think I've talked about it on Pete's stream before and stuff. This is probably the first time I've really gone like super in depth with it. But
how long ago did that
exclusive?
It's been God. See, this is the one thing is my memory's fucked now. So it's 3 or 4 years.
Oh wow, okay.
Jesus, I want to say 2017. I have it on the paperwork and everything, but literally I almost fuck it up like every other time I talk about it. I fuck up the year because that's how like I used to have a really sharp memory and now I have to write everything down. And it's like I'm 30 years old. I'm not like an old dude and like that was one of the biggest things and one of the hardest things to deal with. But if that never happened, I'd probably still be working a shitty job, dude. And it was like for almost a year after that, just having crazy nightmares about like dying, not being alive, burning alive. 2 weeks, like I think it was about 2 weeks after, basically when school got back, there's a bus stop right across from my house, and I was smoking cigarettes out front. Two of the moms that get their kids down there were just like talking across the street, and they were like, "Did you hear about the 2 teenagers that died in the truck accident at the end of the road a couple weeks ago?" And I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, it was
You're
just
like, am I still alive? Is this like a sense thing?
yeah, it was.
See the picture of himself. Oh no!
Misinformation. The local patch had reported that someone died in the accident, and it got fixed after the fact. But it was like, I came out to that after weeks of not sleeping and fucking being just mentally destroyed, and was like, wait, like I had to go in and talk to my girlfriend for a while, and had a lot of time where I was real messed up, but it was able to be synthesized down into stories. And actually, there's a character in the Ransomverse now that's sort of influenced by a lot of it.
Wow. So it's crazy what you went through, but then to find comics after that and to like channel it into stories. I mean, that's incredible, man. Honestly, it's like
it's easy to find when you know what you're looking for. It's like this sucks.
Yeah, seriously.
Time to go do things that don't suck. It's really cliche, but it really was like that. Like I attribute it to hitting my head really hard, but it was that like moment where I was just like, I could die instantly at any point in time. Like I don't even live in a nice area. Like fucking 10 years ago, my area, you could catch a bullet on a good day. Like fucking.
So, Jeff, what's your horrific trauma?
Yeah.
So last week I stubbed my toe while getting a snack.
Jeff has it good. He balances me out.
Yeah.
But it hurt really, really bad for like 5 minutes, guys.
There's definitely some stuff from Voidwalker injected in it. Like Voidwalker is like really personal and definitely dives into that, and that character is going to be showing up in Voidwalker for sure. Like it's one of my favorite characters. Ryan Wynn's seen him, and it's a real weird design that I'm really excited for. But I feel like if you know about me just personally or as a writer and you've heard that story about me, when you see this character, you will know like this is probably the closest thing to a self-insert that's ever been in any of my work. I hate that shit, but this guy is like a self-insert of all of my like messed up real world trauma, but I tried to keep it as far away from actually being me as possible. Like it's right.
So like a reader wouldn't pick up on that necessarily.
Yeah. You don't need to know my story to understand his story.
Gotcha. All right, guys. We've gone over the hour mark, so we should start wrapping up here. But I couldn't. I had to hear that whole story through.
Yeah, that was an amazing story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah,
thank you for letting me, because it's great to be like genuinely on the other side of it and able to like I told this story in private, and I feel like I was like I probably looked like I was almost in tears. Like I get to there was a point where I would get to a point again where I was like I would mentally start building up, almost like my brain was like time to bust out of this fucking glass again. Like I'm back in there whenever I would talk about it. And it was like, if I would talk about it with Beth, if I was having a bad day and was feeling weird, I'd talk about it with Beth, and then I would go to sleep and I would have those nightmares again. And I was like, oh fuck, I just like brought it back on myself. And that was where the like original idea for this character and everything came from, was like what happens when you're haunted by these things that you can't control. And it built from there. But yeah, it's like it's so nice to be at a point where I can just sit and hang out with friends and talk about this fucked up thing that happened to me and be like I'm smiling right now. I'm smiling, I'm having a drink. I'm not
like if you think about it, it's like you wouldn't even be like we wouldn't even know you right now.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And I think about stuff like that all the time because I'm a nutcase like before the accident, but I'm like, man, one weird moment like that, and I just never would have experienced like any of this cool shit. I'd be like,
it's
floating
true
on a blank screen somewhere. Like,
yeah, like you would never put a pen to paper and wrote a script, or you know what I mean?
That's a big part of what Voidwalker is, man. It's like a realization of existence in the form of a superhero story, if that makes any sense. Like I didn't I didn't appreciate what I had until it was like beaten out of me. It was weird.
Yeah, it took blunt force trauma, right?
Yeah, like, and maybe that I was a shitty person or something, and I'm learning to grow from that. But I don't know. I'm happy about it now, looking back on it, and it's I like thank you so much for having us on tonight. I feel like
definitely. It looks like you actually got another backer while we were on.
Oh shit!
All right,
Thank you
nice.
so much.
Woo!
Nice. The plan is, you said that in 4 days, if you guys don't hit the goal, you're gonna extend it.
Yeah, we'll extend it just because we've had a bunch of people asking us to extend it anyways, like people that were like essentially begging for any campaign from me even before we announced City of Rock, that are just, it's bad timing for people financially and stuff. I totally get it. Like,
this is a busy month too with big campaigns.
There's a lot of campaigns happening right now.
Going on. People just had kids going back to school and stuff. Like, and that's
October. I always find October to be like super busy for whatever reason, like a million things going on.
We were like, we're one of the only guys doing like a straight up horror, like this is like Halloween candy, like this is what we're going for. We're trying to bring back that vibe of excitement in spooky season, and not just like, oh, it's spooky season, let's meme about it, like some actual fun horror shit. Like,
that's awesome. I backed it already, so I hope everybody watching the show will check this out and back it. If if you just like zombie comics, if you like horror comics, and hell, if you just like Spenser, just Spenser and Geoff pick it up,
Yeah.
I mean, this campaign is too good not to happen. So
even if you don't like me, buy two. Burn it.
So Geoff, did you have anything to promote besides City of Rot? Do you have anything else going on?
No, for right now, it's all City of Rot all day, 24/7. So you can just follow me online.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope we see you on more stuff. I mean, I like what I see here, and I think you're born to do comics.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Where can everybody find you guys? Like, are you guys mostly on Twitter or Instagram?
I'm mostly on Twitter nowadays. I do have an Instagram, but on both it's just at Geoff Elkins.
Okay. And I know, Spenser, you're at Rooster Puncher, right?
Yeah, at Rooster _Puncher. I think somebody beat me to it. But I am just Rooster Puncher on YouTube, and me and Geoff are getting down on that with the channel now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys are doing a show too.
If you're watching,
definitely. I'll come on. I'll watch whatever crappy movie you guys.
Yeah, we were saying we still got to pick a movie for you and figure out a schedule. We can shoot them live or off air if you want to. Doesn't matter to us. But even if we do them live, I'm also going to cut down an edited version of them after with no dead air or anything in it, and just make a nice little package that'll be uploaded as episodes onto it. So we are slowly building a format and stuff on the channel. It'd be cool if you want to. If you don't mind, we can get Johnny C on the episode too, and we can just do it like the four of us here tonight. We'll just watch it.
It's a movie thing?
Yeah, we basically pick a shitty movie and we'll get on and discuss it after we've all watched it on our own.
Well, that's perfect because I run a page on Facebook called Movie Preview, and it's all bullshitting movie stuff. So if I can put on my movie preview hat that night, I'd be happy to join.
Hell yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
I see a lot of shitty movies, so chances are I might have seen it already.
We're trying to find something. Kevin is the only one where I was like, I need to find one that Kevin definitely hasn't seen, because he's like me, where he'll watch the schlockiest shit ever, like. So I'm like really trying to find something that is just like out of left field for Kevin, but like
Dead Don't Die, Jim Jarmusch.
Oh yeah, I was like, I want to find something though that's like really, really weird, old deep cut. Like I don't want to do
old school deep cut.
Yeah, I don't want to do newer movies or anything like that, unless it's something that is just like so like ungodly bad. Like, and we know going in it's gonna be a shit show.
Sure.
Like,
can we trick him and tell him to like watch Harold and Maude, and then he thinks he's watching a horror movie?
Like those really bad like direct to Redbox like Avengers knockoffs, shit like that is.
Oh yeah,
yeah, Asylum
Or, like,
Pictures.
like the direct to video sequels like Smoking Aces 2, which nobody asked for.
Yeah, right. Or
Hell yeah.
Deep Blue Sea 3 that just came out.
Yeah.
Oh my! I gotta watch it now.
Is there anybody with a name in it?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they all have names. They're just not recognizable.
Yeah, it's like some washed up like child star from the 70s that's still making movies.
Sometimes in the Asylum ones, they have like people that were in movies like 100 years ago, you know.
I'm just seeing Nick for the first time on the Alterna stream, and it kind of just looks like me with a shaved head.
Oh, really?
It's a bit surreal.
Let's we'll wrap this up. So, Johnny, do you have anything you want to promote?
Nothing particularly aside from don't forget all my comics are on Global Comics now.
Yep.
Check out Surrounded by Death.
I put it up here.
Preview up here.
It's like I don't think I have Surrounded. I have the first issue of your Western. It's Sartania, was that it?
Oh, Sartana, yeah, it's a Spirited Western based upon a pre-existing character. But yeah, Surrounded by Death is available in Global Comics right now. As a matter of fact, you know what? I might as well announce it, Keith. I'm planning on making all my books on Global Comics free for the month of November. So stick around in the month of November. Everybody can read my books for free on that platform.
Yeah, we'll promote that definitely on this show. We'll put a link in the notes and everything. Everyone knows I still have Mighty Mascots up on Indiegogo. So if anyone hasn't backed it yet at this point, go for it. So
anyone that has, go back it again.
Yeah, right.
I'll be sure to back City of Rot. This looks pretty cool.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, I definitely. This campaign needs to happen. So, all right. Well, great to have you guys on, and great to talk to you, Geoff. Jeff, where are you located? Before we go,
I'm in Florida now.
Oh, you're in Florida. Okay. Yeah, you have to come up this way at some point and hang out with all of us.
Where are you guys all at? I mean, I know
Spencer's in Connecticut, but me and Johnny are in Massachusetts.
Yeah, we're all like an hour
of Florida, Jeff?
Together.
I'm in Tallahassee right now.
Oh, okay. Do you ever do Spooky Empire? That show that's out in Orlando, Tampa?
No, I don't even know what it is.
Oh, check it out. Spooky Empire. It's like a horror con. It's a huge horror con.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit we're going to have to look into, Jeff, because that's the whole thing is I want to sort of, and not necessarily pivot, but do that with the comic stuff is like, it'll be cool to be one of the only comic guys at a horror convention. Yeah,
definitely. Especially if you have horror theme.
Yeah, have our horror imprint there. And then we can go do the Ransomverse stuff at the regular Comic-Cons and stuff and still have the horror stuff there and vice versa.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you're going to think outside the box with, I think those shows would be perfect.
Spooky Empire is pretty limited too with the creators they have on. So last year, there was maybe only just a handful. Myself, Dirk Manning were among the individuals. So it's and we did really good. I actually had to leave early. If I didn't leave early, I probably would have had one of my best shows last year at Spooky Empire.
Cool.
It's cool.
The business end of things.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, and everybody who's watching should head over to the Alterna channel. And they're launching Ryan Wynn's new book tonight, Hammerella. Check that all out. Support him, support Spencer and Geoff. And we'll see you in 2 weeks with another episode. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.